What it do, everybody? It's your boy King Crowder back again with another edition of History You May Not Know and Things That Are Not Taught in Detail for Sure. Today's video will be focused in giving heightened knowledge to a tough subject that some know that we hear the word thrown around all the time: gentrification. Gentrification is defined as the process of changing a poor urban area and moving wealthy people in it to improving the housing, attracting new business, and typically displaces its current inhabitants. This process is when we refine one place and make it more appealing or respectful. Gentrification is a very violent thing to do. Let me tell you why it is violent for gentrification to happen. You are literally pushing people that lived in a certain neighborhood out of it because affluent people want this side of town. If we look at this side of history, you will notice that white flight tended to happen, and that is when white flight happened when people decided to leave the urban centers. Most Black Americans decided to live in urban sides of town. Now that we have a generation built after it and the suburbs are not viewed as polished as they once were, most people love to live near these events. So now that we know people that once lived in the outer skirts of the area now want to come back in, the subject of gentrification comes back in. So what they tend to do is white investors, I don't want to give a race title to it, mostly affluent people, because Black people can also be wealthy, that's ignorant to say, go to a certain area and decide to push people out who are not of their certain clientele. So whenever you hear those slogans on the other side of the stories about don't sell grandmother's house, these are the analogies or the expressions they're using. Those houses in those neighborhoods that are near malls, shopping centers, and productive areas are of high value and should not be sold for minor or low coins. These communities need to be invested, loved, researched, cultivated, and supported. Gentrification not only affects the social culture, economical, political, and mental momentums of this area. These places tend to push the crime out just due to people coming in, having more jobs and more resources, and displacing their victims by giving them what they call Section 8 vouchers. Section 8 vouchers are what you give people that currently live in an urban or a less economical environment, and you give them the ability to live in a house with a subsidized rent. Well, subsidized rent means if you live in a house that costs $1,000, the government will pay $1,000 of it. And with them paying $1,000 of it, they will let you just pay $200. So think about how much money you'll save and how that is so resourceful for certain poor families. Gentrification is a touchy subject that we see happening all across this country. Think about New York. My father is a New Yorker. He told me that Brooklyn is not the same. It has been completely gentrified all the way to Williamsburg and certain sides of town. You see it happening in Miami, Houston, Atlanta, Vegas, Los Angeles, all sorts of towns. Gentrification is a subject where you buy property for cheap, invest it off the lower class, build it, and you make a huge profit. Gentrification is a subject that shows rent gap, it shows classism, and it shows multiple things that are happening. Now, there are some positives to it because you are helping depressed areas and improving them. But gentrification is a subject that is not highly studied enough. Why? Gentrification shows how in this country we capitalize off each other and how the wealthy tend to get what they want. Now, it is also a subject that should be subject because it shows how gerrymandering and how the election processes tend to go. I'm throwing words at you because whenever you hear these things going, they connect together. You have this political party, this campaign, you change the demographic. That's how you get that voting block to change. Everything in this country is politics. Learn it, embrace it, acknowledge it. Money, politics, and life. All three counteract with each other. It's your boy King Crowder. Hope I gave you a lesson on how gentrification works, what it does, and what areas of towns it goes into. So when you see those houses on the side of the road, we buy houses for cheap. We buy cars for nothing. That is a method of gentrification actively happening. It's your boy checking out. Hopefully you learned something. Peace.